April here with Must Be Company and Must Be Mead. We're making mead today. We're going to do a 1 gallon batch of simple mead using only honey, water, and yeast. Let's get started. This mead kit, you're going to have a siphon tube, funnel, airlock and rubber stopper, yeast and yeast nutrients, and of course your 1 gallon glass carboy. First things first, get out the instructions. The instructions are going to tell you to clean and wash all the materials first. Definitely want to do that. Okay, I have washed and cleaned out this gallon glass carboy. I have also washed and cleaned out the airlock plus the funnel. And we'll go ahead and get started. Get your kettle here on the burner. What you're going to do is take a gallon of cold spring water. Very important that it's spring water because you want the minerals in the water to help with the fermentation process. And you'll need 2.5 pounds of honey. If you can find it from your local beekeeper, absolutely fantastic. But if all you can get is what's in the grocery store, which is pasteurized, it's still going to work. In the long run, I would say a nice good local honey that has not been pasteurized will give you a better complexity over time with the flavors of the honey. But if that's all you got, 2.5 pounds is what you need. So let's get started with the meat. Okay, we're going to do a 1/2 gallon of spring water in the burner at about 140 degrees. We want to hold it there. We want to hold it there for 15 minutes. All right, that's about a 1/2 gallon. Okay, when you add honey to the water, it's called a must. Hence, must be mead. So go ahead and add full 2.5 pounds of honey into your water. It's very important that you let that not settle on the bottom of the kettle because it'll start to scorch. So you want to continue to swirl it as it. All right. Take your thermometer, stick that right inside. You're going to want to hold this for 15 minutes at 140 degree temperature. At this time, you can add a few other ingredients such as orange zest, lemon peel, ginger, cloves, cinnamon stick, and you're going to let it sit and seep like a tea. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and turn the burner off. We're going to put our clean funnel right to our carboy like that. Then we're going to take the must and pour it right into the carboy. Try not to spill any. Oh, it smells really good. Alright, as you can see, it's only about halfway full of the must, so what we want to do is fill the rest of the carboy up just about the tip here where it curves and put cold water into it because we want to get that temperature to go down before we pitch the yeast. You don't leave too much room for oxygenation, but you also don't want to not leave enough room for fermentation. So right about this curve here is where you want to fill it up to. In this packet we have a thermometer tape. Peel and stick that right on the side of your dry carboy. Dry that baby off right there. And just stick it right on. This is a sideways one, so we'll stick it like that. There we go. We take the funnel off. We want to add some water to the airlock. That way the oxygen can't go in, but the carbon dioxide can come out during the fermentation process. The next day or two, you're going to start seeing this thing bubble. That'll tell you if fermentation has started. However though, I have had fermentations when there's not been a lot of bubbles. So if you don't see a lot of bubbles fermenting in this thing, then there might be a lot of yeast starting to collect at the bottom of the carboy, which also is a good indication that fermentation is occurring. All right, pop that in there. Put that little lid back on top. Okay. That means it's ready to go. So we'll keep that aside. We're somewhere nice and clean. We have two things in this baggie here. One is going to be the D47 yeast. The other one is going to be the yeast nutrient. This yeast nutrient is what helps get the yeast to go full through fermentation and attenuate that mead properly. So what we're going to do is we're going to have about, I'd say, 1/3 of a teaspoon of the yeast nutrient. We'll put 1/3 of a teaspoon in there. Drop that in like so. Then we're going to have about 1/5 of the packet of this, because you can use this several times as long as you can keep it clean. Don't let any oxygenation get inside, kind of fold it up, stick it back in the fridge, and you can reuse this a few more times. Normally 1 packet of this would supply you with a 5-gallon batch, but since we're only doing a 1-gallon batch, we can use this at least 5 times. Alright, so about 1/5, get an idea. Okay, now fold that away. I'm also going to keep it in the little baggie that it came in, so it stays airtight. Alright, and give it a good swirl. What we're doing now is introducing oxygen. You want some oxygen in there. Okay. After that, we know it's below 80 degrees. We've introduced our oxygen. We've introduced our yeast nutrient. And we're going to go ahead and put the airlock on top. It's very important that we cover it up and keep it covered during the fermentation process so that air doesn't touch it while it's fermenting. Otherwise, it's going to start smelling like rotten eggs, and you're not going to like that. Okay, now that we've got this in here, it is ready to go into the closet. We're going to cover it up, keep the temperature somewhere between ambient room temperature, like 75 degrees, 70 to 80. I wouldn't go any higher than 80 or any lower than 60. So this is what comes in the Must Be Mead box. It's also co-labeled with Savannah Bee Company. You can find it on savannah.com, savannahbee.com, or in any of those stores. Or you can find this mead kit, which is the same kit, online at mustbemead.com. We'll come back process of adding the yeast nutrients, and there's going to be a step in the instructions on adding it into day 3 and again on day 5. So we'll show you that process next. Okay, so it's day 3, and we are going to remove that airlock. We are going to introduce some oxygen into the mead. By doing that, we're also degassing it, releasing a lot of that carbon dioxide that's been sitting inside there. And by releasing it, the flavor is going to taste a lot better, a lot quicker in time than not degassing it. So we're just going to swirl it for about a good 2 minutes. And I won't make you watch me do this for 2 minutes, so that's what I do for day 3. Day 3. Okay, it's day 5, and fermentation has been doing very well, bubbling into the airlock. I'm going to put that to the side in a clean surface. I'm not going to introduce any more oxygen to this. So all I'm going to do at this point is add in 1/3 teaspoon of the yeast nutrient. Replace the airlock. And I'm going to stick it back into the closet for another 3 weeks until the fermentation is complete. Okay, so that concludes our 1-gallon batch of mead. Very easy to make, as you saw, honey, water, and yeast. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to siphon that mead and transfer it from the carboy to bottles. So I'd appreciate it if you would like and subscribe to this channel. This is the beginning of many videos that we've got coming. And any questions or comments that you have below, I'll be happy to answer. And we'll see you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye. Always mix your honey. Stir it really